Well, hello and good morning to the crypto world. This is Crypto Posse, episode number 12. And gotta say, there's a lot going on out there, and I say that all the time because there is. But, this week, I just want to say we're going to talk about what to prepare next in the crypto market. We're also going to talk about Ethereum is about to get a major upgrade, and Bitcoin dominance reversal signals imminent altcoin surge. But before we get to those topics, I want to introduce the posse and say, hello, Crypto Posse.
What's good, man?
What's happening?
Doing good. I mean, did you guys do anything fun over the weekend?
I went to the Menifee bike park with my son, and we rode the pump track, and it's just about 3 acres of wood to ramp jumps, and then a big concrete. It's kind of like a motocross track, but it's concrete, and you pump the bike into the corners, jumps. There's ramps. It's really really cool. We did that on the weekend, and then the rest of the weekend I just did a bunch of gardening and trimming palms around the house. Typical weekend stuff.
Cool. Sounds really cool.
I had a milestone birthday. My son turned 25, so we all met at a park, Camarillo Springs Park. It's a rural area, beautiful park. We had a great time with family, friends, and just enjoyed his birthday.
Braden turned 25.
25 years old. Yeah.
That's just mind-blowing, man. Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah,
really
pretty
awesome.
amazing.
Sounds like we all took advantage of the beautiful weather, which, by the way, has been really bipolar. Because one day it's freaking raining, especially living up the mountains. And then the next day, literally, it's a beautiful summer day outside. And so what I ended up doing was I went to a local theme park out here in SoCal, enjoyed it with my family, had a great time. We even planned it too. We looked up the schedule just to make sure. We ended up going to Knott's Berry Farm and just wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be a crowded day. And because we have passes, I like to nibble a little bit of time here and there. So we'll go in the morning time, get to jump on as many rides as we possibly can. And then the moment that the crowd shows up, I'm out.
Nice. Yeah, that's fun. That sounds super fun. Well, hey, man, stoked you guys had a good weekend. And just got to say, you're right. The weather out here is, Southern California, man. Millions of people moved here for a reason. It's gorgeous. We're blessed.
Beautiful weather. Beautiful
Really
weather.
blessed. But yeah, so let's dive in. Let's just
Yeah.
dive into this week's subject matter.
Man, I'm going to dive both feet into this one, especially with this topic, which is what to prepare for next. Now, there's a lot going on in the background, a lot. Donald Trump is doing, 4 or 5 different things all at one time, from, trying to get the ceasefire in a war between Ukraine and Russia. You've got all this tariff talk still in the background. But how do we utilize that when it comes to preparing for what's next? When you look at the Bitcoin chart, and I'm only going to cover Bitcoin, this is definitely not financial advice, but this is going to be a high level, simplified, zoomed out view of what to prepare for next. So when you zoom out, because so many people get caught up in these lower time frames, and I see it every single day, and they don't even know how to read a chart. So they're basing their financial decisions off of lack of education. When in doubt, zoom out. And when you zoom out, look at the monthly time frame. And when you look at the monthly time frame, you could pick up on some key levels. Some key levels that I want to share with you today are right now, Bitcoin's trading at right around 106,000. I'm looking at the weekly chart. Right now, the current weekly candle is showing us that there is strength because we're getting candle closures for the first time in this range. So up until the genesis of Bitcoin, we have not had a candle closure like we're seeing today. So what I'm preparing for is we're either going to continue to move to the upside, And I like to operate with an if and then statement. So if price breaks out, I'm already pre-prepared with my portfolio when we get to that euphoric moment, and we're going to break down the Bitcoin dominance chart later on in this episode. Because I'm so heavily invested in altcoins, I want to be prepared when it gets euphoric to start taking money off the table. So if that happens, that's what I'm going to do. If that does not happen, this is where the second part of the statement comes in. Then this is what I'm going to do. Because the beautiful part about the crypto space and investing, you have a 50-50 chance of getting it right. So the probability is already on your side. You just need to be on the right side of the market at the right time. So if price doesn't break out into price discovery, which is where we're at, then what I'm expecting is a pullback. And we all know what to do when a pullback happens, especially when you're looking at it technically and when you could view the chart and see that buyers are in control at these levels or sellers are in control at these levels. That should dictate what your next move is going to be. So currently, I'm positioned for the market to go up, but I also have money on the sideline. If we get a pullback, then I'm going to deploy fresh capital into the market. And that's how you capitalize on what to prepare for next. You have option A and you have option B. So it sounds like for me, I'm covered. So if the market goes up, doesn't matter. I'm going to ride that wave and make money. And if it doesn't, well, I'm going to invest more because this has been the biggest breakthrough for me. I don't want to go purchase anything anymore with my hard-earned money. I don't want to go buy a house. I don't want to buy a car. I don't want to even buy clothes with my money. I want to invest that money into assets that are going to grow over time. And then I'm going to pull that money out. And when I want to go buy a house, my assets are going to buy the house. My assets are going to buy the car, and my assets are going to pay for my lifestyle. And that's where I'm at.
Well, that in a nutshell is why you tune in to Crypto Posse, ladies and gentlemen. When Will goes off on something like that, you want to listen because, I mean, why wouldn't you? You know, really awesome stuff to talk about. I mean, I just picked up on everything you said. I mean, I'm the least aware, I think, out of the group about absolutely what to do. So I'm, all ears always. But I mean, I just think anyone would want to hear that. Thank you so much for that. What do you guys got to say about that?
Yeah, I got a question for Will. What number do you feel Bitcoin needs to be at to where we're going to see an upside, where it's going to trend up, maybe to that high of 108 plus, and where would be the point where we'd be on a downside trend?
I like to zoom out again. So I'm going to look at high time frame levels, which is anywhere from the weekly to the monthly time frame. So in order for me to view price continuous to continue its trajectory up, it has to close over this important level, which is a monthly level of about 102,500. If we get a closure over that and we stay up there, I'm going to then zoom down in time frame to really hone in on what price action is doing and to see if it's either respecting or disrespecting that level, which is going to determine if price is going to continue to go up. Because if we get a closure below 102,005, now I can start to entertain a pullback, which the next really important key levels, and again, the monthly time frame would be first level be around 96.5, and the second level would be around 92.5. And those are the levels that I'm looking for. And it goes back to that if and then statement. If price action does this, this is what my action is going to be. If price doesn't do that, then I'm going to go with the alternative trade plan. And I'm going to follow that strategy. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It really does. And it's awesome to hear such parameters, such specific parameters. I think that would give anyone, you know, not such a shooting in the dark energy, like, where you can actually just have some, real data, just real time data to kind of just base your, like plan A, plan B.
Well, I just thought it was interesting over the weekend that, with the Moody's downgrade of our debt, we saw a bit of a sell-off, whether that was profit taking at Bitcoin reaching the 107 level, or if it reacted to that Moody's downgrade. I just thought it was interesting how fast Bitcoin recovered and the rest of the market followed. Kind of shrugging off that downgrade from Moody's. And we're testing that 107, 106, 107 level over the last couple of days, and hopefully we can get a breakout above that level, and off we go to new highs.
Switching gears, what's going on with Ethereum right now?
Well, Ethereum's about to get a major upgrade, and the upgrade is called Pectra. And it basically is aiming to make the network faster and easier to use. And there's two parts to the upgrade. One is Prog, and that is for processing transactions. And Electra is the second part of it, which is for security. Just for the features, it's better wallets, faster validators, and easier wallet recovery. So if you had a wallet and you were trying to recover, you lost your seed phrase, any of things that issues with the wallets, the recovery is a lot easier now.
Is that also affecting the gas fees that are on Ethereum too?
Yeah, so the end result would be more efficient, user friendly, and cheaper to use. Because I know in the past, the Ethereum gas fees are quite expensive, and especially when there's been a couple times where I've actually tried to buy some altcoins and the fees were just crazy. But the blockchain was going off though. Like, I mean, it was busy, and I think to do a $2,000 trade, one of them was Pepe Unchained. It was hard, and a lot of it could be the exchange as well. But the gas fee should be like $2 to $5. It was like $82. It was crazy on Ethereum.
Can you tell, the audience and morons like me what a gas fee is?
It's the cost to do the transaction on the blockchain.
$82?
Yeah, that's abnormal. But Ethereum is the most expensive. It is the biggest.
So now they're implementing ways for that to be more refined, reduced and more refined.
Yeah, they're a layer one. So a lot of these other layer twos are out. I mean, there's, Arbitrum's a newer one. I mean, Solana has one as well. Base is a newer one. I think it has actually something to do with Coinbase. So a lot of these meme coins came out on Base, and the catch was easy to use, cheaper gas fees or cheaper trading fees, and it kind of caught the attention. Really helped these meme coins.
Incredible information. Very, very. Sounds like, it just seems natural as we move forward that a company like that would try to become more competitive, and therefore, and smoother operating everything. So they just probably, I have a saying in business: make less, make more. So if you, make less, but you do more transactions, you make more.
Yeah, and I think they need to. And I think the completion of the Pectra upgrade is they're starting it now. I think end of 25 and the beginning of 26, it should be complete. They're basically in the testing phase of it as we speak.
Sounds really cool. What do you guys think about that one?
I mean, I think it goes hand in hand with the development of the industry. I like that you use the word company, because if you look into some of these crypto projects, some of them are just that. They're just a project. It could be just a developer team, some kid in the basement that's copy and pasting a contract address, and then, in mom's basement creating freaking Jesus coin, and it's like, not to put that down or use that as an example, but what is that coin going to solve? Whereas a coin like Ethereum is actually a company that has a foundation behind it. And then at the same time, the technology of what Jeff is sharing today is it's developing in the right direction. Ethereum is a base layer, layer one chain. And what gives Ethereum its value is all these projects are built on top of that blockchain. And it's such a necessary upgrade because it's the number one altcoin in the whole crypto sphere. All these projects are built on it, so it's going to bog it down with all these transactions that are happening on the blockchain. And it's been talked about for many years as far as this upgrade. But I remember when Jeff was bringing up back in 2021, there was a couple positions that were very large positions I was getting out of, and the gas fee on that was well over like $150. And there was people that invested money that couldn't even afford that fee to sell their position. So moving forward to today, it seems like they're finally solving this problem that they've been having with the bogged down system, which does show the growth of what this company is doing and how all these other companies or other blockchain projects are building on top of it. So it's keeping them relevant in the conversation. Because I heard when Solana came out, I know you know this, Jeff. When Solana came out, they were talking about, oh, it's going to be the Ethereum killer. Polkadot came out, it's going to be the Ethereum killer. No project's going to kill Ethereum. Let's just get that out of the way for sure.
I know the gap is massive,
Wow.
That's
opposed to
insane.
Solana, Optimism, Arbitrum, is newer. There's so many. I looked this morning, but their gap from their dominance is amazing. It's crazy. So I think this upgrade was needed. And also, if you look where Bitcoin is now, you would think Ethereum would be a lot worth a lot more. It's kind of been the last top four market cap crypto to go up. And I still think there's a lot more room. I think the high was 27. You would think it would be in the 4,000s, being where Bitcoin is at, or even greater than that. So it kind of needed some news.
Let me ask you this question, a little bit off the wall, but is there like a, say for Ethereum, being as that we're talking about, is there like a brick and wall business somewhere where you drive by and go, oh, Ethereum?
I don't know where their headquarters are at, but they definitely do have the foundation. They do have a building and a registered, business license to do business and whatnot globally, which is a good question because it's too easy to get lost in the sauce. I mean, if there's what, like 20,000 different cryptocurrencies, and a point that I would love to make right now for any newbie person in crypto, if you don't understand what we're talking about, Ethereum or layer one being Ethereum or these exchanges, but you're going to want to go to coinmarketcap.com, and that's how you could do the research and find out what cryptocurrencies exist, what exchanges to find them on, and a lot of the back end data is going to be found on that website. And it's going to make any person new to crypto going to make it really easy for them to do some of the research necessary.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on Ethereum. Jeff stated that Ethereum was kind of lagging. It was a laggard as we saw altcoins starting to make a run in November, December of 2024, and it was kind of lagging back behind some of the other top five altcoins. But as we got that dip in April 9th, we got a dip, and actually Ethereum led the recovery with a 78.5% gain since then. You have Solana up 61%. The laggards now on the recovery in the top five were BNB, or the Binance, at 23.24% and XRP at 32%. So Ethereum is kind of leading the way, and there's talk that Ethereum could kind of lead the way in this altcoin run that we're going to have.
I think it could too, but looking back when Ethereum was 1,500, That's pretty low. So if you go 15 to 27, it's a high. Yeah, that's where it made up the gap. But overall, it just wasn't moving much through the year at all. But sometimes it's deceiving too. And then that's why you have to go back and look at the data and the charts.
Yeah, and I think like you're saying with these upgrades and with talks of ETFs and you know, the ongoing network enhancements on Ethereum, I think you might see that surge that we're looking for.
That is exactly what we're looking for. Surge.
It's a good point and a good flow because we first started out the episode of what to prepare for. So you're completely covered in that area. Then you've got Jeff bringing up Ethereum, which is key to what Mike is talking about. The only way an altcoin season happens is when Ethereum recovers. And when you zoom out to the monthly time frame again, and you now go to the Ethereum chart, it's going to give you very key levels that you're looking for. And a really good key level on Ethereum is once it can get back up into the all-time high area, that's when you're really going to see these altcoins pop. And then that's another part of this episode is, looking at the Bitcoin dominance and then how do you piece all this together as the market does what it does, which is constant. It's going to either expand or it's going to contract.
Well, if you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, right now it's at about 65%, and over the last week we saw a slight decline. And as you start to see these declines in the Bitcoin dominance, if you look back through history, that's kind of when the altcoins have taken off. If you go back to the previous cycle of 2021, we had dominance peak at about 70% in December to January of 2021. And then we had a breakdown over about a 6-month period from 70% to 48%. And during that breakdown, we saw about a 4-month rally where the altcoins, just exploded and outperformed Bitcoin. We had regulatory concerns. We had Elon Musk said some negative things about Bitcoin, and then we had the China ban against bringing up regulatory concerns against the mining in China, and that really led to the crash of in May of 2021, and then after that we saw a slight run again in May or in June that ran for about two months, and then we had a complete sell-off, and it took a long time to recover, and now we're at where we're at now.
That's so mentally stimulating what you just said. I don't know if I'm just a sick puppy or what, but every time you talk about pullbacks, man, I'm looking at myself on the screen and I get this big ass smile on my face and I'm like, what's up with this guy? What's he getting excited for on these pullbacks?
If you really do like study the charts and all that, I mean, you see trends and you see patterns, and then you prepare for those patterns. And what you're talking about, Mike, is very, very stimulating and truthful, because that's where we as humans can use our instincts. Once we have, at least some understanding of what's going on, we can kind of use our instincts and, tap into that. Because, I mean, there's no crystal ball, but as close as you're going to get to one is to have a combination of data, charts, and human instinct. Maybe salt and peppered with some AI.
I think this altcoin season could be much different because we have institutional adoption, we have a different regulatory framework, and we have Bitcoin at way more of a percentage, or just at a higher price. I mean, back in the run of 2021, Bitcoin was at about 40,000 through that first phase, and then it reached about 67,000. So, we're touching new grounds, and we won't know what's going to happen until we see if Bitcoin pushes up above this, 107, 108,000, and we get to new to all-time highs. I think we could see these altcoins really explode because it's just a different environment. than it was back in 2021. We have so much more adoption. Institutional investors are coming. You have guys, businesses and corporations like Strategy and over 70 other corporations that have invested in Bitcoin. So I think as we see all this, input into the market, it's going to be a different season, and I really believe we could really take off and see a really great altcoin season.
Yeah, I think we should too, because if you look back in 21, as you said, Mike, Bitcoin high was around 68. The gap difference between the altcoins and Bitcoin are different. Now, Bitcoin, where it's trading now, is much higher, and I feel the altcoins are lesser. So I feel there's a lot more room to grow, and that's exciting for me because I like when you can make some money when when you feel there's that gap, that value to buy in. And one thing too, the if you look in 21 was the last time NFT or gaming uh, coins or tokens have really done much of anything. Like Mana Decentraland, Loopring, Algorand, those are just kind of non-existent. That sector has not done anything, and a lot of people wonder if that's even going to come into play on this bull run that we should have.
I think the economics behind Bitcoin is really shining right now. You have economics 101, you've got supply, and you've got demand. So with Bitcoin, you have the finite supply, and you have this huge demand that Mike just touched on. You've got companies like you just brought up, Meta Planet, which is based out of China, who now hold 7,800 Bitcoin worth $812 million. You've got BlackRock with their ETF with hundreds of millions of dollars. So you have all this, not just adoption, you have institutional adoption. And then what's happening to retail, us here down at the bottom, is we're being distracted because we brought up, look at what the tariffs did. The tariffs crashed the market. And then what we were talking about today is we have this beautiful V-shaped recovery that completely erased any of those losses within a short period of time. Why? Because you have all these people in the background that's not being talked about that are accumulating, MicroStrategy constantly accumulating. And it's crazy, even his strategy, he's literally using debt from his company to buy Bitcoin, then taking out loans against the collateral of Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin, which is why he literally is the blueprint for any of these big, huge Fortune 500 companies. They go to him to ask the questions. Elon Musk went to him for this outline. And then you got another prime example. You've got Tesla, who holds Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So now that BlackRock is big and in the headlines, which they've been involved the whole time, not to fool anybody, because they freaking are the biggest fund in the world, investment fund. And then on top of that, with all this adoption, this is why we're seeing what we're seeing in the charts. And the beautiful part about what I've continued to learn, even prior to this episode today, I woke up super early and I'm going all the way back researching and literally studying the price action of Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the sun of the market. Everything revolves around the sun. When the sun goes up, just like plants, they rise with the sun. When the sun goes down, Bitcoin, and it crashes, well, what does it do to the entire market? Pulls back with it. Unless the only time that there's the one time that it's okay to go and break away from what it consistently is doing is what we're talking about today, altcoin season. That's when Bitcoin is pulling back, people are taking profits, and liquidity doesn't disappear, it just transfers. And all that liquidity is transferred into the altcoins. And you literally only have a very small window to capitalize. And that's why it's so important to have a trade plan trade your plan, and the rest is history. Because if you don't trade your plan and you get caught up in the euphoria, and I have before, you're not going to take profits. Market's going to sell off faster than it went up. Why? Because you have all these market participants that are now all selling, triggered by a key event, by whatever they're going to use at the top. It's going to scare retail, and that's when we will be in a confirmed bear market. And I get way more excited for a bear market than I do for a bull market because that's where the money's made.
And that sounds a lot like kind of mirrors, not exactly, but somewhat what happened in the crash of 1929 with the stocks. It was all about perception, and all the newcomers that weren't really, really invested in real information, just by perception, all got afraid, pulled out, crashed it. Obviously, if you had money at that time and you could buy stocks, you'd buy at the bottom and turn yourself into a multi-billionaire, but not everyone can pull that off. I mean, do people sometimes have, excess money laying around that they could do that with? But what you're talking about, to some degree, precursors that awareness.
And that's what I love about these markets. Markets will again expose you. And in order to really be profitable in any asset class, it comes back to what you just touched on. It really comes back to your mindset. It really helps you develop emotional intelligence. And then you could roll that over to, and I love this because my mentor just gave me this yesterday. One of two things is happening with money. Money is either mastering you or you master the money. And when you master the money, going back to what I said earlier, and I'll put emphasis on it, when you flip the switch and you stop buying and you start to invest your hard-earned money, and then you let your assets buy the lifestyle that you want, that's when the shift happens. And that's what the big boys are doing at the top. So I'm learning from successful people. And we've heard this saying before, you are who you hang around. So if you're going to hang around with knuckleheads, you're going to be a knucklehead. You hang around with successful people, the probability of you being successful skyrockets. And that's what I'm doing today.
Yeah, that's funny. We have a little dive bar in town called Knuckleheads.
That's funny.
And when you drive by, you see all your buddies that are knuckleheads. No, I'm just kidding. It is, it is, I mean, it is who you hang around. It is, you collect, like the Posse, Crypto Posse formulated exactly for that reason, to put together a group of humans who are kind of a like mind, who really are driven to try to succeed and want the freedom that crypto potentially gives. Because, like you keep talking about, and we all keep talking about, I mean, you don't have a boss. You get to kind of do what you want. Hopefully it works, but yeah, I really agree with that, Will, and everything we've said today. I mean, any thoughts, final thoughts on the episode, Posse?
Yeah, I was gonna just comment on Will with the Bitcoin. When we get into the alt season, when Bitcoin pulls back, most people think, oh, the market's going down, and then all these altcoins, like you said, the money's coming from somewhere, so all the money's going to flow from Bitcoin and go into these altcoins, and it kind of catches people off guard because you're watching, Bitcoin pull back, and then all these other altcoins, start just building momentum and going through the roof.
And that's where emotional intelligence plays such a key role in how you manage yourself in that moment. Because it's so easy, again, to get lost in that euphoric feeling of, oh my gosh, it's going to keep on going up. No, it's not. Gravity. You're going to throw a ball up in the air, just stay up in the air? No, you're going to throw it up, expect it to come down because the laws of physics prove. It's the same thing in the markets.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. When you look at any chart, any chart you look at, nothing just goes like this forever. I mean, it does this, right? And so what you talk about a lot is how to ride that wave and how to make money off this part, which is where create an incredible opportunity comes in. You know, if you have emotional intelligence and if you have the awareness to understand not to get all, you know, fear, everything you talk about. I mean, yeah, it's about, because if you, it's true of anything in the universe, what goes up must come down. If it rises really fast, well, it might be too good to be true, and it's going to have some sort of correction.
Exactly. And this is another thing too, when you're looking at the Bitcoin chart, we call it, so like if you see price here and it goes up and you can see this ladder movement, right? It just keeps on creating these levels of liquidity. Well, it stair steps up. Well, by the time it gets to the top of that stairs, you think it's going to stair step down? Hell no. It's going to take the elevator down. And that's where you get that fast sell off. And if you're not careful, you'll get caught. You'll get lost in the sauce. But that's where tuning in to four dudes just shooting the shit, all adding at the same time value. And that's what's beautiful is even if nobody tuned in to the therapy that I get from talking with you guys, the excitement that I get, the things that I get to hear myself say, because I'm studying this stuff in the background, it literally has helped me make money already. So if I wasn't even a part of this project and just tuning in, thank God I am a part of this project, I'm profiting on this side, and I'm just trying to get people to profit with me. Because making money by yourself, that's just boring. But making money with your friends, that's where it's at.
That's really fun, really cool, and I totally agree. And we hope that the people listening to Crypto Posse pick up on that energy, because I do feel like that's something we bring to the table that's pretty unique, you know?
There was one point that I wanted to kind of make about the Bitcoin dominance chart and the reason why I touched on what happened in 2021 and the drop from 70% to 48%. I failed to get at the point that I don't believe that this altcoin season we're going to have the dominance chart dip as much as it did in 2021 for all the reasons that we talked about. So I don't think it'll take much more of a drop. You know, we're at 62% now. I think if we start to get down into the high 50s, we're going to really see the altcoins take off because we're in a completely different environment than we were back in the 2021 run.
Do you feel that's because you're going to want to hang on to Bitcoin and institutions are involved now and we'll just pull money elsewhere to invest into these altcoins?
Yeah, I believe so. You know, with the ETFs and the talk of, you know, Ethereum ETFs and XRP ETFs, I think we're going to get more exposure by institutional investors and with the different regulatory framework and, you know, pro crypto president Trump, you know, who actually their company World Liberty Financial actually owns about 500 million in Ethereum. I wanted to mention that as well. So I think, you know, with all these different aspects, we're going to see a different type of altcoin season, and it's going to be exciting to see.
No debate with that one, it seems like.
Amen to that, all that.
Right.
You know,
It's all crickets.
It's totally, because it's so truthful that we're all just sitting there going, yeah. You know, another really awesome episode of Crypto Posse, episode 12. Got to say, on a roll here. So just want to say thanks you guys for showing up. And just remember to our audience, comment, like, subscribe. You know, we'd love to hear from you. Hit the subscription button and let's do this. Thank you very much.